Welcome to episode 5 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle are David and Chris. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, bringing you the latest news, hottest takes, and all things WWE and AEW. Don't forget, folks, send us your wildest predictions, questions, and anything else that's on your mind at Chi-Town Shoot Podcast at gmail.com. We'll tackle your comments in the Chi-Town Shoot mailbag. You can keep that in the recording. Well, let's start this thing. How's it going, guys? What is new?
Oh, it's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
It's daylight savings time.
It's Sunday. There's more sunlight. That makes me a happy person.
Oh, yeah. Sun is always good. Sun makes me feel real good.
Shout out to Sun.
Shout out
We got
to
a
Sun.
bunch of plants today. We're currently watching our friend's dog, Ramona. She's been really good. She's one of the best trained dogs I've ever seen, bar none. She literally, like, when I fed her, I put like the dry food in her bowl, and then she's like looking at it and then just looking at me. And I was like, why aren't you eating the food? And then I remember that Myra, whose dog this is, she says you have to say okay, and then she eats it. So I have to tell her okay, and then she starts eating the food.
Good girl.
She's pretty. It's insane. Yeah, and she's she also knows how to roll, which I didn't realize she knew how to do that. I just said it when I was holding a treat, and she started rolling.
Dang! I want to teach that.
So yeah, pretty good. But yeah, I Chris, you were working out at Export, and I kind of want to talk about this. You kind of mentioned it briefly in the chat a couple of days ago, but you saw CM Punk and Danhausen at an Export in Chicago. How did that happen?
Well, I'm guessing because he's from Chicago, he probably lives around in the area. He's working out. It was quite interesting, kind of surreal, without marking out too hard. It's so weird. It was so weird, like just turning to him and then just kind of talking to him real quick, like he's like a regular dude. But then like you go back to do your set or whatever. It's like, geez, fuck, this guy was just on TV and all this shit. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's weird being in a casual setting when the only place that you really see these people are in like larger than life settings and arenas and fireworks and shit, and he's at a gym, just doing his set.
I try to keep it cool.
Casual.
I wasn't gonna be like, I'm your biggest fan. Like, I don't even know. Like, you saved my life or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
Sign my hat.
yeah.
Sign my hat. Oh, I just happen to have like these 12 action figures on me. Hope you don't mind. Can you sign all of them?
I mean, I just asked like how his tricep was and all that, because I just want to keep it like within like, okay, we're working out. We're just talking about working out, right? So it was very short and brief, but it was cool.
That's all you can do. And I feel like I'd be that kind of person too. There were a number of times like I've seen the celebrities and semi-celebrities in the past, and I try my best to just be. I don't want to be that guy. There were like maybe one or two people I asked for a picture, but normally, because I feel like they hear that commentary every single time, and like you feel like you're the only person who's saying this, but they've heard it like hundreds and thousands of times.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that guy. And I'm sure he's also probably, even when he's working out at Export, it's probably been a little dulled because they see him all the time there, so people don't really approach him. But I'm sure he, like, you can kind of sense it when you're working out. You're like, oh shit, there's this guy that's looking at me. He's probably gonna come over and say something.
Right.
Like I'm sure he has that feeling every time he's in a public space.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he had a hat on and all that.
it's the best approach. What kind of hat was he wearing?
Cubs hat.
Oh, nice.
Macho Man
Bret Hart.
shirt.
Oh, close enough.
Nice. And Danhausen was doing his own thing. Was he wearing any wrestling related shirt, or was he just?
He had a Svengoolie shirt on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Svengoolie shirt and a beanie.
Face paint.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I thought
That's
it was
awesome.
I thought it was his trainer first. Like I thought that was like his like PT for a second because they were doing like a scapular row, so they had like the handles and they were just like pulling their shoulder blades back. So I thought maybe he was doing some like rehabby shit, but I don't know. But then I like walked away and I looked at him closer, looked at Danhausen closer. I'm like, okay, that's probably Danhausen because tattoos and the Svengoolie shirt.
I mean, he was recently at a freelance show. That's probably why he's in the area. He's not in. He doesn't live in Chicago, does he?
I think actually CM Punk was at that freelance show as well that night because it was on Thursday. That's when we were working out. Yeah.
Oh man.
You missed them again.
I see. This. I think I'm just cursed because I said the same thing for Survivor Series. I'm like, because the only seats they had at that time was like 200, 150, 300. I just wasn't willing to shell out that kind of money. And yeah, and then he shows up, shot
Lose your
myself in the
shit.
foot.
Lost your
Yeah, and then I
shit.
could have gone. I could have gone to freelance for considerably cheaper at Emporium. I think it was at, and perhaps he was there, but I didn't see any clips or anything. So unless he was incognito, but
He
you
was. I
think,
think he was at the show. I don't think he like made an appearance on like in the ring or
yeah, but it's
something.
also a small area. Like you would be able to see CM Punk in a crowd, like an Emporium crowd, like it's probably 3-4 rows deep.
Probably in the rafters.
Or he was in the back.
That's also clearly visible. It's a short ass ceiling. So that's
Well, you
awesome.
missed them anyway.
But we talked about Danhausen. We can start rolling into Dynamite and Revolution. We just watched Revolution ended last week, last Sunday, and we had Dynamite and we had Collision. We have big business coming up as of this recording. They're on a hot streak. I gotta say, Revolution was a really really good pay-per-view. I was impressed by the ending. I mean, the actual match between Sting, Darby Allin, and the Young Bucks was. I mean, that was crazy. The spots, just the drama, and I know that Sting mentioned in previous interviews that he doesn't like to lose, but the feeling of him winning is just felt really good. You don't get that many opportunities like this. You had Ric Flair lose his last match, and that was emotional. I thought that was the right way to go about Ric Flair's retirement match. The first retirement.
We're talking like the Shawn Michaels one.
Yeah, we're talking about Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24. But I like sometimes to have, if there's a retirement match, and there aren't that many that I've seen, it's nice to just have them go out on top. And then and why not? Like they could just retire the belts, let them, or vacate the belts and let someone else have a go, but just have them win and go on top. How did you guys feel about that match? Initial thoughts about Revolution? Any first things that come to mind?
I mean, AEW really stacks their cards usually on these pay-per-views. I think it's because you are paying for it, so they feel like they have to like stack it like a bunch of matches, so you get your money's worth. But it does run pretty long because then you're like, damn, this shit still got like 30 minutes.
It's a
Damn.
marathon, bro.
More
But
wrestlers get paid too.
yeah, but overall pretty good. I think it flowed really well. I don't know when the Konosuke to catch the match was that was like I think they had the Tony match and then they had this thing match or some shit. I don't remember if you pull up the card or something, but I think it flowed really well. There was like a breather moment. You had the big ass match, and then you had the finale, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you guys think of the scramble match to determine the number one contender? And was it the right person who should have won?
Yeah, it should have been Wardlow out of everybody, I think. I mean, he was the only guy that cut a promo on the previous Dynamite or two Dynamites before the pay-per-view, so it made sense.
Yeah.
He did well in those promos too.
Yeah.
I mean, his promo. I am an admitted super casual watcher of AEW, and I'll be a little more tuned in going forward. with AEW, so I'll have more of an opinion on their product. But I thought Wardlow's promo before Revolution was really good. And if that's what's expected of him, I know he's having a title match at Big Business against Samoa Joe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That should be good. And also, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you put, a title match on TV? You got a mostly sold out arena in Boston. You're gonna debut Mercedes Moné. Why not have a title match? Just go balls to the wall. We'll see what the ratings are and how many people are actually watching. I feel like I'm of the mind that doesn't really make too much of a difference, because how people digest content has evolved so much, and the older guys who talk about wrestling on their podcasts and shows really sometimes look at ratings like a gospel, but you can't look at content and product in that way in 2024. At least I don't think you should look at that, because people don't have time to just sit down always and just watch a full show of AEW or WWE in one go. Like, it's not always going to be appointment television. People are going to watch it in their own time. They're going to watch a replay on Hulu. They're going to watch clips on YouTube. They're going to watch clips on social media, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm good. That's all I need to do to watch this show." But
right,
hopefully with their viewership, it does increase for Big Business, at least when it comes to their TV ratings and advertising dollars and all that, because I'm sure that gets affected when you're looking at that. But I'm very hopeful for Big Business. We had AEW Dynamite, and there was a huge fallout from Revolution. Will Ospreay was one guy that was the one match that I missed.
Wow.
On Revolution. What did you guys think of that match? I guess I'll comment on the Dynamite one.
Fire.
Yeah, that was great.
That was one that you missed, unfortunately. I mean, I could lend you my account. You could rewatch the whole thing if you wanted to.
Hey man, let's go. I'll lend it for longer.
Shit. Yeah, no, that was a great match. I think Takeshita's a great wrestler. He's a good heel. I think he has a lot of future and potential. For whoever's seen a 6-foot Japanese man like that, huh? Guy's flying around like a crazy person. Yeah. No, it was really good. Good ass match. And then they followed that shit up on fucking Dynamite. Well, not with Takeshita, but with Kyle Fletcher. Another banger. Like, I hope he can hang in for the long run with the shit he does in the ring. But man, that shit was crazy. Fall after fall, kick out after kick out, crazy spots. Just good shit.
What do you guys think of Kyle Fletcher? Because that was a really good match, and I was like, because I haven't really seen his stuff before. I'm like, it takes two to tango, and he's really doing a great job being in the ring with Will Ospreay. Like, he's also doing a lot of amazing stuff.
I think
gravity defying stuff.
Yeah, he's underrated. I think he's underrated as a worker, because he was he was like second fiddle to like Will Ospreay in their faction, I guess, but. Like, he for sure is like potential.
And what is this? Are these proving grounds? Why are they fighting against each other in their faction?
It is like a proving grounds. What's his name?
Don Callis.
There you go. He was saying essentially how, like, in the off season you'd have like a Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen or somebody go at it or whatever, just as like a training thing to just sharpen the sword, so to speak. So that's essentially what this is. But I'm guessing this infighting is going to create some kind of a feud and betrayal and all that jazz. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's one thing about Will Ospreay that I'm still uncertain about if I like it or not, and his ability to sell moves is hit or miss. I feel like he takes a punch or whatever, but he's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like almost like he's bulletproof, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't always sell the punches. He's just like going with the flips and all that, like going one after the other. And in my mind, I'm not sure if I like that yet, or if it's just a different take on, a wrestling match that I'm just not accustomed to, because I do watch WWE and they sell, and that, that's how I've perceived wrestling matches. But I mean, do you think I'm wrong? Do you feel like he does sell when he gets like hit and stuff? Because I felt like that wasn't a big part of the match when it came to him selling moves.
His selling's gotten better.
I think
Yeah.
Compared to like maybe what it was like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, uh, he's in the middle of changing his style, and like what he's doing now is working a lot better than he was more like a Ricochet type.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like he's he's on the way up. He's still pretty young in terms of in-ring years.
And that's for sure.
Yeah.
But do you think, I mean, at the end of the day, do you think that matters? That concept of selling, and do you feel like that, if does that take you out of the match if you're watching like a Will Ospreay match like that?
I,
Everyone obviously thinks it's like 5 stars, so it doesn't seem to. But what do you guys think?
I enjoy his matches like on the level I would with like Pac or Neville.
Right.
So like, it doesn't affect me, but there are some matches are like between some wrestlers where I'm like, nah, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I always base it on, am I entertained? Yes or no. I am fucking entertained when I watch Will Ospreay. So, I mean, that's enough said on my end, to be honest.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Because it is entertainment. It's not actual combat, But like he's taken bumps and he's sold like shit. Like he would take like a pile driver or whatever, and he'll sell that. He doesn't just get up from that. You know what I mean? Maybe the strikes perhaps, because they'll
Yeah,
like trade strikes and stuff. But I mean, he's definitely selling like being thrown or something like that. He's not just getting up.
Yeah.
I like his Omega matches a lot,
Oh yeah.
but most people do.
I mean, I haven't seen those. I feel like I should start catching up on his match history. So we're already kind of in the AEW Dynamite conversation, but let's take a step back and just talk about the new logo, the theme song, the new stage, the new look. How do you guys feel about this new version of AEW Dynamite? Did you guys get a chance to listen to the new theme song? What do you think of those condom tunnels?
I mean, it harkens back to like the original AEW Dynamite, because they did have like the multicolor. I heard some people saying, "Oh, it looks like NXT 2.0 or whatever because of the multicolor," but like they had those like multicolor things with like the chandelier that was
Right.
hanging off and all that stuff. So I think it looks good. Looks like the logo, they borrowed the font from like Fight Forever and they made it a Dynamite. Like they made the word Dynamite using that font.
Yeah,
Good
And
point.
it looks good too, because I mean, when you think the word dynamite, like dynamic or whatever, like that definitely adds it than just like the basic ass like white word dynamite. It definitely looks better, more appealing.
That's true. And
I think
it's
they were
very
fine.
specific.
Yeah, like it was definitely time to like swap things out. Like they've been out for a little while. You know, the good and the bad have happened. As many signings as they had lately, even though they've always had like a big splash in terms of getting free agents. But
Hmm.
just like where the direction it seems they're going, like definitely plays off a lot better than keeping things where they were.
Definitely. And I mean, wrestling shows like SmackDown and Raw, they always change their logos every 5 years or so. So just like with Dynamite, it was about that time. With the world title match for the AEW World Championship, Swerve addressed his loss. Samoa Joe came out and he had a really good line. This is Joe's world, and Swerve is just living in it. Where do you see Swerve Strickland going from here? Do you feel like the upcoming title match between Wardlow and Samoa Joe, do you think Samoa Joe is going to lose? Like, do you think you're just going to swerve, no pun intended, just for swerve's sake, and have Wardlow win?
I mean, I would definitely like that. I mean, I think there's some beef between Wardlow and Swerve there too. Um, I mean, it could go either way. I'd probably be conservative and say that he's going to retain.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, maybe they're really just trying to like hot shot that shit with that show. So who knows?
Yeah. I'd like to see Wardlow win the title just because I mean he intrigues me and I like he also seems like it's that kind of second fiddle uh he's like the guy, you know, he can kick Adam Cole's ass, but he feels like a punching bag sometimes, and I feel like if he does win the title, I also don't I hope that they're not going to be like, oh, he wins the title and then he's going to give it to, you know, Adam Cole or whatever.
Hand it right over.
Yeah.
Kill switch.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
you make a point though, because I bet they're trying to make Undisputed Kingdom a bigger deal. So it would only make sense for Wardlow to win the title, so they have all this gold. Because I mean, like, why make the faction and make it a big deal if you're not gonna, you know, shower them with gold and then make them a big deal where they show up in main events. So you know what? I think he's gonna win that shit. Maybe it's not gonna be clean, but yeah, I could see him winning it now.
Well, I hope that happens
I'm
because
sticking
that'll
with
be
Joe.
entertaining. And well, yeah, and what would Joe do? Like you're sticking with Joe, and then so he'll retain, and then he'll keep having that. But what happens if he loses? Where does Samoa Joe go? Does he just stay in with the world title picture, trying to get it back, and then he's basically feuding with Wardlow and that whole faction?
King of television, baby. No, I don't know.
Have to be the move.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that Samoa Joe, he just won it. I mean, I guess now that we're so accustomed to like a Roman Reigns 3-year reign, I'm like, oh, everybody should be having it for like, you know, 5-6 months a year. Before they used to pass around titles like fucking hot potatoes. But yeah, I don't know. I think Samoa Joe should have it longer, maybe at least through All Out. But we'll see. I do secretly hope Wardlow wins just for that swerve. With the other big part, the Elite obviously lost at Revolution, but they also announced that they're kicking Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page out of the Elite, and they announce. Well, they don't announce Okada first. Oh my God, I just forgot his name. Eddie Kingston came out. And then got a beat down. Okada comes out. You hear the coin drop, shows up, joins in on the beatdown. So he's a heel, and they announce that he's part of the Elite. Do you think that's the right course of action for Okada?
Yes.
Yeah, I like
think,
it.
Yeah. I mean, like all these people coming in are, you know, coming in as essentially faces, so they needed like a big name like that and just make him a big heel, at least for the time being. I think that's a good idea.
And it keeps them away from the belt, but keeps them in a good enough program.
Yeah.
What do you think about where does Kenny Omega fit in this? Because they just, I mean, he was unceremoniously kind of left, and obviously he had the diverticulitis and all that bacterial issue. I don't know if it was diverticulitis, but it was a serious issue where he was basically near death, and he got better, but now he's on the mend. It doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon. Do you feel like he's gonna just jump in as a face and start feuding with the Elite when he eventually comes back? Do you think he's gonna come back? Because I saw that he also started a new Twitch channel, so maybe he's trying to find an alternative career. But what do you guys think about Kenny Omega's future?
I think he'll be back.
Yeah, for sure. I think it only makes sense for him to come back and then feud. I don't know if it's going to be before Dynasty or after or whatever, but I think it's going to happen. It's probably going to be like an all-in or all-out match.
And is Hangman also just taking some time off? Is that also why they kicked him off and he lost? Because he's not going to be on TV for a while?
He's suspended for attacking the refs.
Well, I mean, in kayfabe.
Yeah, so time off.
Yeah, some time off. Do you feel like maybe they'll come back as a duo and then just feud with the Elite as formerly Elite members? Because I feel like that'd be interesting, at least from my perspective. they want to take it in a certain direction.
Yeah, I mean that makes
Might
sense.
be that time.
Yeah, I really hope that with Okada, and I've seen some of the elites. They had like some segments on YouTube. I don't think it was specifically on Collision. They're pretty funny. I gotta say. I think um, the Young Bucks have some pretty good comedy chops when it comes to timing and just how they speak. It's the way that they talk on camera is just really naturally funny. It doesn't sound like they're reading off a script and they're being goofy and it's cringe. I actually thought it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I mean they make good chicken shit heels. I mean that's kind of what
Yeah.
they're doing right now.
Yeah, more power to them. So we had Hook, who defeated Brian Cage to retain the FTW championship. Chris Jericho shows up and he's basically kind of give him like, hey, pretty good kid. And the Gates of Agony attacked Hook after the match. Jericho saved him. Is this like turning into some kind of mentorship thing between Hook and Chris Jericho? Because there was that follow up on Collision too, where Hook showed up and basically helped out Jericho on Collision after his match. How do you guys feel about this developing story between Jericho and Hook?
Oh, they do it right. Like, that's really about it. Like it's not a bad thing until they make it one.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean
like there's a lot of groaning about Jericho, but it's like a lot of these dudes are learning a lot from Jericho.
and I mean I think the rub off from Jericho onto Hook could be a good thing for Hook. So and they got to stick Jericho I guess somewhere. So I guess this makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And there was a match between Chris Statlander and Rico. And Statlander was given a chain. She looked at it, basically tossed it aside, and then lost. Riho beats Chris Statlander. I don't know how I feel about Riho. I mean, I think she's pretty good. And if I'm not mistaken, she was the first AEW Women's Champion, like the debut Women's Champion. I am curious where they go with that, because right now you have Big Business, you have Mercedes Moné debuting, you got Toni Storm, who's still in a feud with Deonna Purrazzo, and she had a really entertaining, funny Tony Awards segment on Collision. And I'm really enjoying where they're going with that. It seems like the Deonna Purrazzo thing is still ongoing. So I don't know where, what her next opponents or challengers are going to be for that title. What do you guys feel about Toni Storm's current title run, and what do you expect is going to happen at Big Business, and especially with the AEW Women's Championship? Where do you think it's going to go?
I just want to say Mariah May do be looking like Toni Storm in that gear though.
Yes, that was the other thing, was that I was like, wait, is she just coming out to like in her regular gear just to fuck with her? But that was just Mariah May. I'm like, well, I guess, blonde girl, good looking blonde girl, good looking blonde girl. You can easily mistake her for Toni Storm, but she pulled it off really well.
Yeah, I mean I like the fangirl gimmick because she plays it really well. But as far as like Tony's next opponent, I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on what happens with Mercedes and how that debut kind of goes.
She keeps calling out Wendy Richter too. So
Who?
Legend Wendy Richter?
Yeah. Every media scrum, she calls out Wendy Richter, so watch out.
That'd be funny if something happens with that. I don't even know, how old is Wendy Richter now? I don't even remember,
Like
but she's got to be in like 50s or late 50s or 60s at this point.
61.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Sting was what, 65? Wendy Richards got 4 years at least in her. Put some boots on her and some knee pads. Let's go. That should be interesting. Did you guys get a chance to listen to Mercedes' interview with I forgot the name of the podcast, but she basically talked about leaving WWE, hinting at, she said she was making big business moves, and that's like an obvious
Ooh.
kind of Easter egg. You know what she's talking about there. Did you guys get a chance to listen to it at all?
Was that recent?
Yeah, it was like
Got some clips. It
2
was
days ago.
Yeah.
No, I got to watch it after this podcast then.
It's pretty good. I mean, she keeps it pretty vague about why she left, but she does say that she's very grateful for what WWE gave her, and she was really emotional just when she talked about the wrestlers and the opportunities that she's received, and just helping out other wrestlers and just being in her position. And you can tell that she really likes just wrestling in general, just the concept, the community, the whole shebang. She's really passionate about it, because she was almost like borderline crying when she was talking about, you know, her friends and how proud she was about, you know, basically standing up for herself, and she wouldn't be where she is right now if she didn't do that decision, leaving WWE with Naomi/Trinity. So you should definitely give it a watch. I'm fully expecting her to debut at Big Business in Boston. If she isn't there, that'd be hilarious. I'll eat my own shoe, but I doubt that.
There'd be no way.
She's not, yeah. I was like, well, who else could it be? The gobbledygooker? You know, you wouldn't be doing all that. I mean, it's like the CM Punk thing. It's, oh, they're doing it at a big arena in Chicago. What's it gonna be? Wink, nudge. It's gonna be her, and I'm gonna be excited. And I'm just genuinely curious where it's going to go, because I have no idea what she's going to do, what they're going to do with her, how big of a role she's going to have. So exciting. What did you? Okay, so we talked about Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher. When that match ended, Bryan Danielson came out and just gave him a stare down. And then Bryan Danielson had a match on Collision. He won his match. And then Will Ospreay, does he only have one jumper, by the way? Because he just came out in the same green joggers
That's the uniform.
as before. Yeah, that's the drip, I guess.
Kermit the Frog on leg day.
Are you guys excited for this feud? Do you feel like Tony Khan's blowing his load too early with this match, or do you think that's the right feud to start with Will Ospreay?
It's all right, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
It's all right.
you definitely. I mean, for sure. Like strap the rocket to him, have some fire ass matches, and keep the hype going. I think makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I
get the
agree.
Danielson match out the way. It's kind of like Danielson Omega. Just get it out the way. Make sure everybody can have it while they're, still here.
Still
And
healthy. I
get it
agree
out
with
the
that.
way.
And that's just what he's known for. Like you don't sign Will Ospreay and have him like some lukewarm ass matches. Like you have him do the fucking Will Ospreay thing and have some crazy ass matches every
Yep.
single time. You know.
I agree, and Bryan Danielson also feels like sometimes he's like the proving yourself kind of match person that you have with the match. You do it, you get it done, you get a little more prestige behind your name because you beat Bryan Danielson, then you move on to the next thing. And that's what it kind of feels like with Will Ospreay trying to get his bearings in AEW. I feel like that's a good place to end with AEW Dynamite and Revolution. Hopefully, Big Business is going to show us some big new changes, and we'll have a clearer picture about where AEW is headed with the women's division, the world title picture going forward. Right now, we're going to jump into my initial thoughts on WWE 2K24, since you guys are waiting a little bit. Hopefully, when you guys do get WWE 2K24, we do want to do on this podcast a stream. And my brain is also just thinking about like other things we can do, like title matches, and maybe we could have like a digital, champion, and then we can have it as we could have our own like little pay-per-view and stuff like that. I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, but I like that idea for streaming.
Have a listener
But
like fighter asses.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that could be pretty entertaining, but I also want to use it as an opportunity to just talk about shows that just happened. So we could be doing, tag matches or singles matches or whatever it is, and just chat about, if it's SmackDown or Raw or Dynamite, whatever it may be, as another opportunity to, show a different kind of content on our channel. So keep a lookout for that. But my initial thoughts on WWE 2K24 are actually really good. I just went through the showcase mode. I'm basically done. The last match that they do when it comes to WrestleMania specifically is 39 between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. You actually get 3 matches from that specific WrestleMania. You got Bianca Belair versus Asuka. And then you have Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley as those 3. And I just ended the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes match right before this recording, and I thought I was done with the mode. And then they said, "Congratulations, you have a bonus match, and it's a 30-man Royal Rumble with every single big WrestleMania person that appeared in WrestleMania." So you get like this giant character select screen of all the big hitters, heavy hitters, and I picked Shawn Michaels. And perhaps the arena changes depending on who you pick, but when I pick Shawn Michaels, the arena turns into WrestleMania 10, and you have a giant Royal Rumble, and you gotta A, win the match, but then B, eliminate 1, 5, 10 people as the challenges keep going. So I'm very curious to see where that goes. But it does build upon WWE 2K23 in the sense of there are similar modes and there are slight tweaks in terms of presentation and controls. So there's a thing with finishers now. When you have 3 finishers, when you have all 3 finishers stored, you get a super finisher, which basically is like if you have an F5 or whatever, he's gonna like F5 you like 3 or 4 times in one go. So it's gonna take up your entire meter and just really lays the smackdown on your opponent. The ambulance match I haven't tried yet, and I haven't tried the special referee match, even though I should have, because those are the ones that were really advertised. But I just wanted to get the showcase mode out of the way, and I'm really happy about it. There were a lot of people that talk about the blurring out of Vince McMahon's face, but that is funny. But there are actually a lot of things that are blurred out in their wrestling clips. There are referees. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why'd you? I think one of them was not Mike Chioda. Who's the one who
Mike
screwed Bret Hart? And Mike Chioda was
Earl Hebner.
Earl Hebner was. Yeah, he was blurred. He got Benoit.
I trust Earl.
Yeah, I trust Earl. I think it's blurred out. Like sometimes it just looks goofy. Like they also at WrestleMania 31 when it was the what was Triple H's faction with he had the 2 goons and Seth Rollins was part of his the Authority. I think it's just called the Authority.
Yeah. J&J Security.
Yes, they got blurred out too. Like they just have like cough faces on themselves in that WrestleMania 31 arena, which is also good. Like it's outside. If you guys remember in like older games, if it's like an outside arena, it was still shoved within like a traditional wrestling arena, which I thought was stupid. But thankfully now with like 2K and I guess technology, they're able to actually do like an outside arena, and they've been doing that for a while. But I just want to bring it up because we never talked about that before. But yeah, their logos that were blurred out. They had sponsorships. John Cena. They have the John Cena Bray Wyatt match from WrestleMania, whatever the 2021 was, where the Firefly Funhouse. That's a WrestleMania match, and he has like a logo on his hat that got blurred out, which I thought was weird. And I have never seen that match before, so I was actually very intrigued by this, just the whole concept of the match. David, you saw this match, right?
Yeah, it was a cinematic match.
Yeah. What did you think about it when you first saw it? What were your thoughts?
I thought it was good. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Me neither. When I was watching that, I don't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah,
I
it was
wasn't sure
like
what they were trying to. I mean, I guess like from my assumptions, it was kind of like maybe he's trying to delve into like John Cena's psyche or something
that's what
like
it ended
that.
up being. Yeah.
Yeah, because he came out he came out as ruthless aggression. Well, ish. He didn't look exactly like it. His ruthless aggression like debut outfit. He came out in the rapper gimmick. He came out in an NWO shirt, and I think I'm missing one, but yeah. So basically, he's going through all these different stages, and
The weightlifting thing.
yeah, the way we're just going like this all the time. He's just going and going and going. It's super cheesy with like because he just over the top with his facial expressions. But yeah, that was my first time that I actually saw it from beginning to end. So that was interesting. And then, what you can say whatever you want about the pandemic, but I think like it did allow for these kind of interesting takes on matches. AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, that was also another one that I thought they did really well in terms of the cinematic matches. Life gives you lemons, try what you want, and they did a pretty good job with those boneyard matches. But yeah, blurred out stuff. I think that's how I went on a tangent.
Do you still hear their
Yes.
voices though? Like,
Huh?
do you hear like Vince McMahon's voice or some shit? Or?
Yeah, and he was actually, which again doesn't make any sense. Maybe because they're like, oh well, this is the skeevy Vince McMahon because it's like the older version. But when it was The Rock versus Stone Cold, he's there with not his face isn't blurred. It's that WrestleMania where it becomes the power trip and they shake their hands. He's not blurred at all. So I don't know if that's just them forgetting to blur Vince McMahon within that match, or they have like a rule book that they just made up, in the past 4 months. This is okay, but this isn't okay. And the same
He's
thing with
probably
Brock
too big in
Lesnar.
that moment.
What was that?
He's probably too big in that moment.
That's true. Like you can't just some guy in the middle of the ring just blurred out. But I mean, the referees are also blurred out. I don't know, because with the Charlotte Flair thing, he's on a microphone talking and he's got a blurred out face. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's weird, but it's not specifically to Vince McMahon. There's definitely probably like people who didn't want their face on camera, even though you would think at this point they're just you're just part of the license of the footage. Like they just signed your face away. But maybe, enough time passed, they were just like, if I'm not getting any money for this, I don't want my face on there. That's what I'm assuming happened with those.
More than
But
likely.
yeah, but honestly, really good mode. I tried the MyFaction thing, and that's been a really successful thing for WWE. And I didn't really try it the past 2 years, but I was playing around with it for these past 2 days, and I'm honestly kind of addicted to that mode. It's basically like a trading card game where it's called by faction because you create a faction and you start off with a number of options. You can be a technical faction group, you can be a high flyer, etc. So I picked the technical, and you basically get a pack. You open the packs, and then you get a really good rare wrestler, some bronze, silver tiers, and then they have daily challenges. You can also take your faction online, so they have a ranked mode where you can take your leveled up faction or your best deck of wrestlers and use them online. And it changes. It's a live service, so the decks and all that changes every couple of weeks, and so do the challenges. Kind of like Mortal Kombat with the weekly towers and that kind of stuff. That thing changes pretty frequently, and also depending on the pay-per-view or whatever happens on WWE, that also affects the content within MyFaction. So I'll keep playing on it, and our next podcast we'll probably have more to talk about when it comes to that. But unfortunately, I haven't tried the online portion yet. I've seen some community creations, and that one that everyone likes to share with Kurt Angle's face as the sign in the crowd. That's one thing I want to definitely download when I'm back playing the game later tonight. But yeah, really looking forward to playing more. And my GM mode, another one that I'm looking forward to play because it came back the past two games and it was gone for a while. So I'm really looking forward to some of the enhancements in my GM mode. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end. How about since we're on WWE and we're talking about legends and WrestleMania, we have the Hall of Fame coming up at WrestleMania 40. The Hall of Fame class of 2024. Right now, we have three people currently announced for the Hall of Fame. We got Bull Nakano, we got Paul Heyman, we got the U.S. Express. Bull Nakano, she was a big popular wrestler in Japan. She had her debut in WWF in 1994, I believe. She had a big rivalry with Alundra Blaze, who was known as Medusa in WCW. And they had a giant match for the championship, which is such a funny name, the Big Egg Wrestling Universe event in Tokyo, Japan. There's about 32,000 people there, which is crazy because you think like you see like these two women who were wrestling in the new era, new generation, and then like 2 years later you got, you know, bras and panties and stuff like that. So just the for the American view of wrestling really changed. But yeah, she was a big influence on women's wrestling. There was a lot of people who came up after her, and even today, who are influenced by her. Beth Phoenix was a big one in her recent matches. She had the streaks painted on her face, which was an homage to Bull Nakano. Her style was way ahead of its time in the 90s and late 80s. It was very hard hitting. It's someone I feel like that is comparable. It's kind of like Gunther. It felt like a legitimate strikes, you know, like the way she lands and hits punches and takes punches. It gives off that aura of like a Gunther, of like, you know, no nonsense, just like a professional, you know, kind of wrestler.
Ass kicking.
Ass kicker. I mean, Bull Nakano. Did you guys know a lot about Bull Nakano, or is this like your introduction to her from the announcement?
It's more it's an announce or it's definitely an introduction for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the name, and I know that she's inspired like plenty of the people that are currently in the locker room.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I haven't really gotten to watch too much of her work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were like 5 or 4 when she was big, and then she left not too long ago. Kept doing more stuff in Japan. Retired not too long ago. I feel like she's almost pushing 70, but she looks fantastic. I gotta say, I don't know what it is over there, but yeah, she looks great. She also looks nothing like what she used to look like, you know, with like the mullet from with the got to be glued or whatever it was, and
Paul
with the
Phoenix
face paint. Yeah, the Paul Phoenix haircut. She's now like a golfer.
Damn.
Really changed. But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to just see her her speech at the Hall of Fame. The one the moment that sticks out for me, because I saw her like create a wrestler in SVR 2006 when I was playing it in 06 and 07. I was like, who the hell is this? And I looked her up then around 06, 07. So that's how I knew her. But congratulations to her. And we have the U.S. Express, who was another tag team that didn't know too much about. They announced them this past week. I think it was on SmackDown, that the U.S. Express was going to go into the Hall of Fame. They're comprised of Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. If you guys aren't aware, and if that doesn't ring a bell with the Windham and Rotunda, they are related to the late great Bray Wyatt. Wyndham Rotunda. We just combine the two. So they originally formed in 1985 when they teamed up in the WWF. Both had successful single careers prior to teaming up. They both came from wrestling families. Wyndham was the son of Blackjack Mulligan and the brother of Kendall Wyndham, while Rotunda was the brother-in-law of Barry Wyndham and the father of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. If you guys don't know, they're also related. The U.S. Express, they found success in WWF, capturing the tag team titles not too long after they formed their team. They defeated the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov to win the titles on January 21st in 1985. And during their time as champs, the U.S. Express engaged in high-profile feuds with people like Sheik and Volkov and the Dream Team, which were comprised of Greg Valentine and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And they were a top tag team for that short stint. They held the title for 138 days before they lost the titles to Valentine and Beefcake at WrestleMania 1, which is a feat in and of itself, being in the first WrestleMania. So that in and of itself should be, reason enough to go into the Hall of Fame. Not to mention, holding the titles for that long, but congrats to those fellas. I don't know if you guys have anything additional to add to these guys, but yeah, good on them. Good on them.
Old school wrestling, some 80s tag.
Good old 80s wrestling.
I mean, I didn't know they were related to Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. The more you know. And the first person that WWE announced was Paul Heyman, who I'm going to assume is the headliner Hall of Fame person. There's always normally how they structure the Hall of Fame. You got historical figures, you got other people who are popular or well known, but then you have the main event person who just has a long time to do their speech. They did it with Rey Mysterio, they did it with The Undertaker. I think they did it with Goldberg, Rob Van Dam, Sting. A bunch of people. So you always have the top guys get a longer conversation. And Paul Heyman, I mean, as a manager, that's pretty impressive. I mean, he's done so much in his career. He was a promoter. He was a manager in World Championship Wrestling. He was in ECW as a manager and also as an owner. He managed, people like Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar. I mean, it's insane. Now Roman Reigns, honestly, anything he touches seems to turn to gold. It's bananas. But with ECW, he started the promotion. I think it was the early 90s in Philadelphia, and ECW was known for its gritty hardcore style and innovative storytelling. He was crucial to ECW's success, and then after ECW's popularity waned, and then they got shut or bought out by WWE, he also became a on-screen talent in WWF. If you guys remember the Invasion angle, and then he became a commentator and behind-the-scenes roles with production and writing. I think his most notable is Brock Lesnar. Honestly, now I think Roman Reigns, the alliance with Roman Reigns is probably more well known now than Brock Lesnar. But let's open it up. What do you guys think about Paul Heyman being inducted into the Hall of Fame? What do you think about Paul Heyman in general?
I think it's great. I think another thing too about that gets looked over is that he was also a talent scout. He's kind of the first person to bring Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who we won't name, but will also fit into that division along with Dean Malenko. Was also
the Canadian Crippler.
Yeah, he got his nickname in ECW.
Crispin.
So, yeah, Crispin Law. We'll just say it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. You're not going to get shut down.
And yeah, just people like that, Rob Van Dam, Sabu, anybody that helping Stone Cold find that grit to him while his time in ECW.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where Brian Pillman also first turned into the loose cannon.
Mick Foley too, right?
He was already Cactus Jack, but he got to be a little crazier for a
He
while.
just developed it more.
Yeah,
ECW.
so I'm happy.
I mean, I'm a Paul Heyman guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Oh,
had
CM Punk. I forgot to say that. That's the other thing. CM Punk. He also did
Yeah.
CM Punk. Jesus.
right. Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed Paul Heyman as a character. Anytime he's on screen, anytime he opens his mouth, it's a good time.
He's just so like smart, and just the way that he speaks is so engaging. Like it doesn't sound like he's reading off a script at all. Like again, it's like one of those guys just understands. If he is reading off a script, he has a great memory and great delivery. But if it's just coming up from the top of his head, I mean, it's insane. And I always look forward to him speaking. So in this capacity where it's just going to be nothing but speaking and doing speeches, I think he's going to be giving a really um, just a really great speech. And the Hall of Fame is like one of my favorite parts about the WrestleMania week, because I do enjoy, and I mean, I feel like you guys probably also enjoy just like podcasts and people telling stories about, you know, their history and just recapping things and having conversations about topics or matches that we grew up with. So the concept of the Hall of Fame, where like they tell stories and you have all these current wrestlers and former wrestlers there, and now they've done it for a while with the audience, but I feel like they even expanded even more into like an arena style, you know, like with a bigger crowd for the Hall of Fame. That just makes it even better, because you get the chance, you get the whole thing like that. That's going to be, and it's going to be in Philadelphia. Like that's going to be crazy, and that's a good spot to do Paul Heyman. But normally, yeah. Um, Normally there are more than three people who are in the Hall of Fame. So who do we think is still going in the Hall of Fame in 2024? Who would you want to see go into the Hall of Fame, if you guys can remember? Because there have been so many people who have been in the Hall of Fame, but perhaps there's somebody that sticks out that hasn't been
He might have to
inducted.
give they might have to give Paulie this much time. I don't know if they could fit anybody else.
Just gonna have him have a conversation for like an hour.
He might have to. I mean, even like with Rey Mysterio, Conan went for a while.
That's true. Yeah, Conan went for a while. Ric Flair was another one. They were like, "You got to wrap up," but he was like, "Nah, I'm still going.
Get the
This is
cane.
my time. I'm inducted, bitch." So yeah, I mean, there have been so many people who have been inducted. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, maybe like another female wrestler. I don't think Mickey James hasn't been inducted, so I'd like to see Mickey James get inducted into the Hall of Fame. If you've done like people like Beth Phoenix, you've done Tori Wilson, uh, China, she's of that era too. You've
Jen.
done Trish Stratus, Ivory got inducted.
Yeah.
I feel like Mickey James is definitely at the top of my list.
He's due.
AJ Lee, that's another one.
Sable. Maybe they'll induct CM Punk.
Huh, yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that. I feel like they could. John Cena, I don't think they're going to be doing for a while. The Rock hasn't been inducted yet, has he?
Kurt Angel.
I'm trying to think if The Rock was inducted now, because I know they inducted Stone Cold Steve Austin, but maybe because The Rock was still active, they
Yeah.
didn't feel like he needed that. But there were like plenty of guys, like again the Bella Twins. Like I still don't understand like why they got inducted that early. I don't mind them being inducted. I think they definitely deserve, just based purely even from like the entrepreneurship that they did, you know, expanding into these other things like reality TV and tying it in with WWE's other products. Um, but yeah, definitely AJ Lee, Mickey James. I could see The Rock maybe after all of this stuff is done, the whole bloodline story, the entire feud. he's going to be one that I want to see inducted.
Was Kurt Angle inducted or no?
He was in 20. I don't know, it was like 2019. DX was 2019. Goldberg was 2018. Kurt Angle was 2017. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, Kurt Angle was the headliner there. You got Teddy Long. DDP was inducted. Beth Phoenix was the same year. Same with Rick Rude. Yeah, the Dudley Boys. I mean, like a lot of people that we know have been inducted so far. Fucking Kid Rock was inducted in 2018.
Yeah, we need a celebrity, don't we? Who's the
Mark
celebrity
Henry
inductee?
got the nod. I don't know if they always do celebrities. They don't always do celebrities. So they did DX 2019, and then immediately the next year they did the NWO. Yushin Thunder Liger, he got inducted. But yeah, I definitely think those three would be next if they're trying to even it out and have, females and males. Definitely looking forward to that. But speaking of women wrestlers, let's talk about women's wrestling. This is March. This is Women's History Month. If you guys have been following us on social media, we've been highlighting some of our favorite wrestlers on social media. We got Beth Phoenix, we got AJ Lee, we got Jazz, we got Bull Nakano, and that was actually pretty serendipitous because I was not posting it because she got announced that same day to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that was just some pretty good predictions. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about women's wrestling in general, where we are now, where we've been, who our favorite female wrestlers are, iconic matches, that kind of stuff. I think it's apropos to just start with just favorite female wrestlers that come to mind when you think of, the best or the most memorable female wrestlers. I will open the floor up and I'll let you guys start the conversation because I feel like I've just been yapping along. Who comes to mind when it's for you in your mind when it comes to great women's wrestling and memorable women wrestlers?
I got a top 3. It goes
Shoot.
China, Lita, and Natty Neidhart.
Oh, there you go. I wasn't expecting you saying Natty, but that's a good one. How are you, David?
I think of like China, or I also think of like in more current times, like Mercedes Moné. Like I'd probably give it to her in terms of like my favorite.
I mean, especially like the past, was it? Let's say since 2014, I feel like that's when the women's revolution really started. So it's basically been a decade where it just like, at least for women's wrestling in WWE, because it sometimes just feels like it's the center of the wrestling universe. But yeah, let's talk about specifically WWE's wrestling. Yeah, they are super integral when it comes to, if you're thinking about the best, like there's so many that are front ended in these last 10 years that you can say are like the best women's wrestlers ever. Because they had that opportunity, like there were plenty of women who were within that like ruthless aggression era, PG era, whatever you want to call it, between 2002 and let's say like 2012, because it was still kind of like a tweener kind of thing. It was sprouting here and there. You had like people again like Beth Phoenix, who basically had no competition.
Yeah.
No competition, when it came to in-ring skills. And again, it's not necessarily the fault of the women in that ring or in that company. Like people like Kelly or Candice Michelle. And again, Michelle McCool, Leia, they were actually pretty good. But again, like folks like Alicia Fox or even the Bella Twins, and they got better. But it's through no fault of their own, because WWE as a company and a culture just didn't see it as profitable, and they just didn't think the audience was into it. So they never really gave them too much time of day.
I mean, you look at somebody like China. I mean, she had to wrestle men. She had the
Exactly. But she was so dominant, you know,
Right.
you wouldn't like have her
Absolute
just
champ.
do, you know, pudding matches or, you know, bra and panties.
Gravy Bowl.
They must have put her in one or two, right? China, or
I
did
don't
they
think so.
never put her in bra and panties matches?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
She was a centerfold for Playboy.
She did do Playboy,
Oh yeah.
but she said she wanted to be, you know, tough, smart, sexy, and beautiful. And I feel like she was definitely like the encapsulation of like what a ideal women's wrestler looks like. And again, yeah, I would like to see that again. Having like intergender matches like China did face Chris Jericho. It was Jericho versus for the IC title, right? I'm
Jeff
pretty
Jarrett.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then later, after she basically plowed through the entire, you know, roster, she didn't really have too much going. I don't know how she felt about the storyline with Eddie Guerrero, where she was just kind of like the mamacita and she had like the roses and all that stuff. I wasn't sure how she felt about that, but she only won the women's title once because the women's title at that time, you had people like Sable and Kat and Deborah. You had Jazz and Jacqueline, and they were really good and athletic. And we had Jazz on our social media, but yeah, she basically had no competition. So the only people that can potentially kick her ass are like the cruiserweights and the guys.
Was in the Rumble, yeah.
Yeah, she was in the Rumble. She was number 30.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. Well, now that they have a women's rumble, I guess they wouldn't put a woman in the men's rumble. But I'd
think
say
they did
fuck
Nia
it. Why
Jax.
not? What was that?
I think they did Nia Jax one year.
I think they did. I know they did Beth Phoenix actually. I think they did Beth Phoenix because she eliminated the Great Khali, if I'm not mistaken. So they've done that once or twice before.
Nia Jax got RKO'd.
But was that before they had a women's Royal Rumble match?
I don't think so. I think that was, yeah, no, that was definitely women's Rumbles were going on.
Well, I mean, people on TikTok or social media, you can correct us whenever this clip comes out, but let us know we're wrong. But yeah, it only happened a handful of times. So yeah, China was second to none. Rhea Ripley is, a lot of people compare her to, you know, like this era's China, but she is her own person, but she does give off this aura that, you know, you haven't had in a long time. I'll argue that Beth Phoenix was that kind of person during her era, but yeah, Rhea Ripley is in her own stratosphere, I think, when it comes to women's wrestling, superstars in general, not even just specific women's wrestling, but just superstars. So for me, favorite female wrestlers, I'll put Mickie James up at the top. I mean, I keep talking about her, but I really do like Mickie James. As a wrestler, as a person, I think she's great, and I hope she has one last run, kind of like what they did with Trish Stratus and Lita, because I felt like a lot of the women got their redemption in this women's revolution by participate. They had like the women's evolution PLE, so they had opportunities there. They debuted or they showed up at women's Royal Rumbles. So I'm glad a lot of these women who were very talented and didn't get too much exposure during their time had that opportunity. So yeah, Mickie James, the first time I saw her was at WrestleMania 22 when she faced Trish Stratus for the WWE Women's Championship. And that's kind of when, again, I started again. So she was also fairly new. She was there 2005. Was she in 2004?
There like a year before.
Yeah. So she had like that. She was first kind of like a fan, I think. And then she became very obsessed with Trish Stratus. And they had that whole, I mean, that was also part of the Raw intro was that Christmas, I think it was a mistletoe, and she made out with Trish Stratus. They had that in the Raw intro for a bit. But yeah, she had the WWE Women's Championship match against Trish Stratus, and she got in trouble because she like basically pretended she was like kind of fingering herself, and then she like did the V thing. Or no, she did this. And then she was in her like the psycho crazy Mickey James stick, which I still think was like her best gimmick ever. She just did it so well. But she was also really good in the ring. She was really good in the ring. And then she slowly evolved. Her attire changed and all that. And her theme song is infectious. Arthur will remind you. Our friend Arthur likes Mickey James. So Mickey James is definitely at the top. You didn't mention Trish Stratus, but I have to mention Trish Stratus at the top. I know she's kind of like the obvious choice, but I feel like she's obvious for a reason because she was good and she did do all of those things and was the most fully fleshed out during that ruthless aggression era when it was still, bra and panties and bathroom breaks and all that kind of stuff. She was one of those that actually, stuck out.
I mean, Lita and Trish were those like prototype
Right.
kind of like modern day women's wrestlers. You know what I mean? At least
Right,
some
exactly.
of them. So
First, the headline of Raw.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's the other thing. They knew that they were so popular that they gave them the ability or the opportunity to headline a Monday Night Raw, which just sounds crazy now that we're like, oh, they had women main event Raw, like how benevolent of them. But now it's just par for the course. I want to mention also Stephanie McMahon, as she is obviously part of the corporate side of WWE, but as an on-screen character, she was also just really good, and I can't ignore her
Nick who?
Stephanie McMahon.
Who? No, I'm just kidding.
Helmsley, like the whole Stephanie McMahon Helmsley era, and I just realized like her SMH shirt is just like shaking my head if you're watching it now in 2024. But that whole McMahon Helmsley era thing where she was just with the title with Triple H and she was that chicken shit kind of heel and she was feuding with Lita, like that was thoroughly entertained when that happened. And her iterations with other things with the Authority and all that kind of stuff, I thought, again, a highlight. And she's just sounded like a genuinely good person to people behind the scenes, and they were upset when she left. But I would definitely put her up there. Yeah, so we talked about the favorite female wrestlers. Are there any matches that kind of come to mind for you guys that stick out in terms of, oh, wow, that was a really good match? I know I brought up WrestleMania 22 versus Trish and Mickey James, but I don't know if you guys had. It could be anything from this past year, from the past 15 or 20, anything that sticks to your guys' minds.
A lot of the Mania matches that they've been able to put in the last couple years.
Yeah,
like even like the Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch.
that was a good match.
Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
Yeah, I mean, like the quality of matches has increased for sure. Because I mean, again, they've been given those opportunities, and I just want to mention Natalya again because I mean, she's been wrestling with the company for like 15 plus years at this point, and she's still on the roster and doing matches. Like
That's
crazy.
almost 20 at this point.
She apparently, when I was looking some of her info up, she apparently broke some Guinness World Records for female wrestlers, most PPV appearances, most matches, most wins, among a couple other things. So I mean, she's obviously a workhorse, and I think she's pretty underappreciated as far as women's wrestlers.
Yeah, go. I mean that's true. I feel like even when she like won the title, I don't even think she won that many. I felt like it was still it still didn't feel like she was treated as like a main eventer, but perhaps her role was like that support and just being that constant, that you can put someone up against, in matches. And you're right with Natty. Like I remember when we were watching and we started rewatching everything, and I was super into reading about Bret Hart and the whole Shawn Michaels thing. I was like really into just reading up about the Attitude Era, the new generation, and after Bret Hart got inducted into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 22, just the conversations about is Bret Hart going to come back, and then they had like Natty Neidhart debut, and I thought they were going to do this whole thing with Bret Hart. That didn't manifest until 3 years later, I think, because he came back in 2010. But yeah, just the whole Hart Foundation stuff I really enjoyed. I also feel like that wasn't used to its full potential again because of just the state of the women's division at the time. I feel like you could do more with it, but
Divas of Doom. It was her and
Beth,
freaking Beth Phoenix. Yep.
Beth Phoenix, yeah.
And they didn't have tag team championships then at that point, did they? They just like kind of
Mm-mm.
stuck them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they only had the women's or the Divas championship, basically.
Right. Which she had the Divas championship, and then she also captured the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she had both for a second.
Yep. Which is you can't not everyone can say that. The same thing with was it Jacqueline or Jazz? Who there? I don't remember which one it was, but
Jizz.
no, but they held the WWF championship, and they were basically the last WWF champion and the first WWE champion because they were holding the title during the transition. I think it was Jazz.
I wanted to say.
But yeah, that Natty is a good one. Beth Phoenix, again, another one that I feel like deserves to be at the top. And again, big fish in a small pond. Just her ability to, her ability was not appreciated. I feel like, well, I guess in a sense it was because they basically just put her in a bunch of squash matches, and she was basically no one's competition for a while. She's another one that deserved a lot, and I think near the end of her run, that the reason she left was because she did not feel appreciated at the time, and she left falling short, I think, of before the women's revolution era that they like to call it. That I remember. I think Beth Phoenix re-debuted not too long. It was actually at No Mercy. She won the title. I think it was off Candice Michelle. We were at that pay-per-view, if you remember, Chris, because that was the night they had Triple H go for the title 3 times in one night against 3 different people, and they had the Punjabi prison match. So I remember that. But I also remember
Bautista.
Beth Phoenix. Yeah, Bautista. So yeah, definitely for iconic matches. I mean, I gotta again mention the Trish Stratus one, and you like you guys said, there weren't that many opportunities before that, or even a little before the women's revolution to have super highlights. I mean, you mentioned the Raw main event between Trish Stratus and Lita. That was very good. I mean, also Lita looked like she almost broke her damn neck. Her neck went back as she was flipping forward.
I think she did like break or like fracture one of her cervical discs. I don't know if it was during that or if it was. I was reading it earlier, but she definitely did, and she took time off.
Yeah.
But
so what about? Yeah.
I was just gonna say because what were women in wrestling in like the 80s and like early 90s? Essentially, they were just valets and just eye candy for the most part. I mean, and obviously through the 90s, except for the exceptions of like China and the like, So I feel like they've come a long way as far as viability and people wanting to see the match. Everybody makes the joke, oh, here's the bathroom break match, but I think that's been less and less of a talking point in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, you have, to be fair, you also had folks like Wendy Richter, Rockin' Robin. No one really mentions or remembers Rockin' Robin during the late 80s or early 90s, but I mean, again, like Wendy Richter at the time was basically not, I will say almost as popular as Hulk Hogan because, she was also everywhere and part of that, rock and wrestling connection. She was in the cartoon shows. And she eventually she was the original screw job because she had issues with it was pay and pop and just the way that she was treated. And they basically had the Fabulous Moolah. I think she wore like a spider outfit. I forgot what they call it, but basically she got the first screw job. And
Trust
when
Earl.
yeah, she did. She should have trusted Earl.
Who took the power bomb into the table? Who was that? From the
I feel like it
Dudleys?
was. I mean, it was like,
Mae Young.
Mae Young, okay.
but Moolah probably did too. So I felt like they just kind of like changed. One did it this time, the other one did the other time.
That's insane.
I mean, let's kind of like we talked about. Let's kind of like talk about like that specific era because that's kind of crazy how much they were involved in the Attitude Era. Because Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young, I mean, you tell them, I want you to go through a table. I want you to strip down to your bra and panties and just show your boobs or whatever. Like that was crazy.
Jerry Springer, baby.
Oh my god, that was basically Jerry Springer
Gave birth
stuff.
to a hand.
Oh,
Gave
yeah.
birth to a hand. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about moments. That was a moment. Who was throwing up? What was it? Oh, was it Mark Henry who was throwing up? I forgot.
Yeah, I think it's Mark Henry.
Yeah, like that duo between like 97, 98, and like, I mean, even through like the mid 2000s up until like they passed away, they would still make appearances. Memorable. I mean, they are memorable and also very well known, historic, long tenured women's champion, Fabulous Moolah. She had her, damn face on the belt because she had it for so long.
Can we just backtrack to this like damn near 80-year-old woman being fucking power bombed from like essentially from like a rafter just down, and it's like your grandma getting fucking power bombed, and then you got fucking Bubba Ray rolling his fucking eyes back and shit.
Pure ecstasy.
Like, did she sustain any injury after that? Because
No,
like,
she said she was fine.
That's wild.
I think Bubba Ray said that she like tapped his wrist to let him know that she was okay because he thought he might have like killed her after that.
That shit is crazy, man.
Man, so when you're Chris, when you're working out those older ladies, you gotta say like, I don't want to hear no excuses. Mae Young got power bombed through a table 20 feet in the air.
I mean, I tell any female client that I'll have, I'll tell them like, you're not fragile, you're not made of glass. Like you can do a lot. You know what I mean? Like you might even take a power bomb when you're 70 something. You know what I mean? And get up.
And get up, me okay,
Yeah.
There was one person that I wanted to bring up that didn't get enough exposure, and she was super influential and legendary in TNA, was Gail Kim. And Gail Kim debuted and won her title in her debut in WWE, and then didn't stay too long because they basically said that they were going in a different direction. Although I thought that they were basically already in that direction with the bra and panties and the Jello matches and all that stuff. But yeah, super short tenure. Went to TNA, came back in 2008 for a brief stint, and yeah, then again didn't take advantage of Gail Kim really at all. And I feel like there was so much untapped potential with Gail Kim in WWE. But do you guys remember Gail Kim's run at all? Did you guys watch any of her stuff in TNA?
I mean, I do remember. I remember looking her up when she debuted, because I remember seeing her in TNA, but just like not watching the product. But then she debuted, and then I was like, oh shit. What about Victoria?
Victoria is another one. There's so many of them that again should have gotten more of a spotlight. Victoria was another big one. She also, Chris, you remember this when she had a restaurant in Chicago with her, I guess now ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
They had a wrestling.
Caught cheating.
What was it? Do you remember what it was called?
Squared Circle.
I think it was called Squared Circle. Yeah, and they honestly had really good burgers, and they had pizza wontons, which I never heard of before. But when I tried them, I was like, damn, this shit's really good.
Mac and cheese, fire.
Yeah, and they would watch they would stream, wrestling pay-per-views and stuff. So I was honestly really upset when they closed down. And again, it sucks because I'm sure the other partial reason was because she did have issues with her ex-husband, so that affects business and all that, and that just kind of spirals down from there. But David, did you hear of Squared Circle?
I I heard of it. I never went.
Yeah, I think it was like in that DePaul area. I forgot what it was called,
The
but
Wicker Park or whatever.
yeah, something like. I mean, it was like basically like the CM Punk area. I don't know.
Mm-mm-mm.
But yeah, that was a really fun place. We have a picture with Victoria, and I mean it was with Arlene too, so it must have been like 2014 or 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll share that picture for Women's History Month this week. But yeah, Victoria. You know what? That's gonna be my next post. It'll be that post with that picture, and there's our gallery post for the week.
Go ahead, correct us, Marks.
Correct us, Marks. But yeah,
Fucking
Victoria is another
chumps.
one. I mean, the Black Widow, her fucking theme song was a banger, and
She
just
had
her
Nicki
in-ring skill was
Minaj
really
before
good.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, she was really good in the ring, and again, underutilized in WWE. And I'm glad she got her opportunity at the Royal Rumble. I think it was during the pandemic, though. She
She's
wasn't
another
doing
one
much
that
for
went to
her.
TNA and did all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a whole slew of matches from TNA that I think we should just watch. Like people with Mickey James, with Victoria, with Gail Kim. Like they had some bangers there.
Burke
Uh,
Angle.
DMD.
Perfect Angle. DMD, Britt Baker. I mean, what did you guys feel of Britt Baker's presence in AEW? How much of an influence do you feel like she had on the women's division, or an impact, I guess?
Massive, I would say. Like she was essentially the face of it for a bit.
Yeah. Does all the public stuff.
Yep. I mean, even now, like if you're on her social media, she's out and about doing some stuff, you know,
What
singing
about
songs and shit.
so yeah? If what do you think is her trajectory? Like, what do you think her future is in AEW? Do you feel like she's going to get an opportunity to be that face of the women's division again? Do you think maybe they're just waiting for Mercedes Moné to just kind of like spark a fire in that? Because I don't know what's preventing them from having her on screen, because she's not injured, allegedly. She said she's available unless that was a work, but nothing came from it. I don't know if you guys remember that tweet she had on X saying that she's available, but I'm not getting any screen time. I only had 1 minute and 15 seconds or whatever it was of screen time last year.
I mean,
She made that comment.
it might be the Mercedes thing. I mean, maybe they wouldn't debut both in the same night, but you know, that could be a feud. Something to do with like the state of the women's AEW roster or whatever, and then she comes out and it's a back and forth or some shit.
Yeah. Well, as we slowly wrap up, let's talk about just the future of the women's division in AEW and WWE, and where do you think it's headed? Um, let's start with AEW first. We have Big Business, and maybe by the time this is out, Big Business already happened. But what do you guys think the future of women's wrestling in AEW looks like? You could just, whatever it comes to mind, whatever you think that future involves or doesn't involve.
It's in the right direction. It's gonna start being more like a WWE thing.
Yeah, I mean,
As in like their production will catch up to WWE's, and because WWE's been able to knock it out.
yeah, I mean, they got the talent. I mean,
Yeah.
they got Statlander and all them. Willow Nightingale, great talent.
Yeah.
Big, yeah. I mean, they got a big roster, and honestly, the catalyst might be Mercedes Moné. I think that like her showing up could probably drive the women's division up for them. up in a way.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's getting more into AEW, I really hope that that is a layer that just really explodes and they expand upon their existing roster because he has so many women wrestlers that he's signed on, and there are people who are on Ring of Honor. I feel like personally, I would just sell off Ring of Honor, dump all the Ring of Honor titles, don't have them show up on AEW because for me, the NXT titles, like there, it does feel like development, but Ring of Honor they treat as an alternative brand. So again, it feels like it dilutes the product, and they have a lot of like Athena for one, like a lot of good wrestlers, women, men included, on there that I feel like you can just put them on Collision and Dynamite. You have Rampage, you have 3 shows, just utilize them better. And I feel like there's so much potential for all these women that they have on their roster currently. You know, you didn't necessarily need a Mercedes, but perhaps maybe you do. You know, maybe they need that shot in the arm to start the ball and let it roll, let it keep going. You know, build momentum. With WWE, where do you guys feel like the future of their division is? Who do you feel like the top face of the company is going to be within the next few years? Do you think the one thing I'm Bailey?
Oh yeah.
I feel like Bailey's kind of, well, maybe she hasn't been the face. I mean, she was kind of like the big heel during the pandemic era. And she was super popular when she debuted. You know, she was in NXT. She had the whole hugger gimmick. She came to the main roster. That translated really well. But I do feel like she needs like that. She hasn't gotten that treatment like Becky Lynch or Sasha Banks. She didn't get her WrestleMania moment
Philly.
like they did.
She'll get it in Philly.
I hope so.
That's
I
true.
hope. Honestly, like I know that The Rock, that tag team match, I feel like they probably will main event WrestleMania. But honestly, I think they should just open with that one. Just swerve folks and just open with the tag team match and let Bailey have the main event of night one. I feel like that should be fair. But we'll see. I'm gonna go with they're probably gonna just have Cody and that story main event both nights. But I think Bailey deserves it.
As far as new blood, though, probably Tiffany Stratton. She's probably up there.
Yeah. She's got that aura. I don't watch NXT too much. I've seen clips here and there, but when she debuted, when she was in the Elimination Chamber and on those SmackDown matches, her interactions with other women on the roster, that is she does have that X factor. You can't put it. You can't exactly pin what it is, but she's really good. Super athlete. I mean, bodybuilder, crazy bodybuilder. Like if you've seen some of her pictures and stuff, man, those lats are nuts.
Photoshop? No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're not Photoshop. And I just saw like her interaction with like this little girl fan. Like she just seems like a genuinely nice person. So I definitely see her, hitting the stratosphere. Jade Cargill is another one that we didn't mention, but I mean, there's just so many good women wrestlers you kind of forget. But Jade Cargill's another one that I think is going to be like John Cena, Bianca Belair level, star.
Rhea Ripley still got a while to be on
Rhea
top.
Ripley, I mean, yeah, she's on top of it. I think she's gonna go even farther and be like next level. Like she is already a big star, but I think she'll be like John Cena, Rock levels if they utilize her correctly. But yeah, with one thing for the women's division in WWE, with the future of the women's division, I'm glad they have tag titles and they have the women's championships. I think maybe they need some kind of mid card title, like an
TBS.
Yeah, like a TBS, like whatever, the USA Network or the Netflix Championship.
Julia.
I think they need some kind of mid tier title. Because I mean, like again, just from the roster and just based on the logic of like, well, the men's roster has an Intercontinental and a US Championship. I don't see why the women don't get a mid-tier title. I feel like they maybe tried it with a 24/7 championship, but that was like everybody, you know? And that's not, I don't want a comedy title. I want something that gives it more gravitas. So maybe there's a title that used to exist and they could bring back, but I'd like to see a mid-tier title for someone who can be called a worker or on their way to becoming, you know, the next Trish Stratus or Lita.
European Championship.
I mean, something. I feel like that roster should get that belt, you know, and it's not diluting anything because I feel like that'd be the right number of belts, but yeah, I hope that that's what I see in the future for WWE's women's wrestling. But with that wraps up episode 5 of the Chi-Town Shoot podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.